Hey, everybody. Welcome to Another Bad Call, the podcast that proves the refs aren't the only ones who get it wrong. I'm JD, and with me, as always, are Justin and Nat. I hope you guys are doing well. It is currently Monday, August 26th. Preseason is over. So we do have another week of preseason for Nat to talk about. Just Nat. We got some hard knocks to talk about. We are doing a 6-round fantasy draft tonight. And then, as always, our bad call of the week. As always, before we get started, please make sure you hit that like, subscribe, whatever it is on your platform so you know when we drop a new episode and you can stay up to date. It also really helps the channel and it doesn't cost you anything. So we really appreciate you. Gentlemen, we ready to get started?
Let's do this.
Where else would I rather be?
I'm going to need you guys to calm down because that was way too intense. Good Lord.
We're focused.
All right.
Waiting on the snake draft.
Let's tell you who is pretty excited. CeeDee Lamb. After, can we say months of waiting, we finally have a new deal in place for him. It took a while, but it puts him up there. I do not believe that he hit the top nope. receiver as far as payments, but 4 years, $136 million. Not a bad payday. I will take that. So he joins a list of Justin Jefferson, DJ Moore, Amon-Ra, AJ Brown, Jalen Waddle, Nico Collins, Devontae Smith, Michael Pittman, Calvin Ridley, and Jerry Jeudy to get some contracts done this offseason. Still waiting on Brandon Ayuk and
Jamar Chase.
I don't know if you say Jamar Chase since the owner's basically been like, yeah, that's not happening. So I don't know what the deal is there, but yowzers. So good for CD, good for Dallas. Get that done. 1 down, 2 to go. More on that to come later. That's called a tease in the business. Other news that came out, Nick Chubb, they announced that he's going to start on the PUP list, so it's going to be at least 4 weeks before we see him in regular season action. At least 4 weeks. Kind of to be expected. Honestly, the fact that he's even in consideration to play another down of football this year is amazing to me. That was one of the gnarliest knee hits. So Godspeed to you. Hope it all works out for the best. QB news. Them boys up north in Green Bay, they made a whopping trade for a QB. They trade the Tennessee Titans, a 7th round pick, and get Malik Willis up there. I had to ask who the backup was in Green Bay. I was talking to a Green Bay fan when it happened, and I was like, hey, who's your backup? Because I don't really know. So some competition now for Sean Clifford, who was the backup there. Didn't know that. We'll see what happens with Malik Willis, but nothing really notable there. Just a little bit of news. And with that, I'm gonna pass off the mic to Justin.
All right, yeah, I got a couple of little items here. Bill Barnwell in ESPN Plus article today had a listing of players that could be potential trade candidates. There were some of the obvious ones like Ayuk and whatnot. But I found it was kind of interesting. Down below, he did have a section on Velus Jones for the Bears. And just talking about, he's kind of in a positional change. He hasn't really hit it as a wide receiver. And since he was drafted when the Bears basically had no one at wide receiver, and now that room is stacked. He doesn't really have a spot in that position group. The running back thing may or may
also
not
stacked.
Pan out, but there's three running backs ahead of him also. So he just goes on to say that it might not be a bad idea for him to find a little change of location and have the opportunity. So kind of interesting.
I want to jump in here real quick because I want to ask you guys' take on this one. So he mentions Velus Jones, but we were just talking about the wide receiver room stacked, the running back room is stacked, but no Khalil Herbert mentioned as a trade option. I kind of would have thought that would have jumped out at their a little more value for the Bears to get back in that one. What do you guys think about that?
Perhaps. Maybe when I get to the next one, that I was going to talk about, there could have been
we'll just wait.
package that for a team that has a need at that position. But I think that the Bears are fine with Herbert as their number 2 at this point. It's kind of like a insurance policy for a guy who's had a full season as the lead back under his belt. So,
okay, just throwing it out there.
No, it's certainly. I maybe if I was writing an article, I would have put Herbert in there, but
you guys would put Tyson Bagent in there just to mess with me.
Oh well, speaking of that,
is he on there? Is he on that list?
Bears Twitter is kind of going a little bit wacky or loopy, should we say, after the CeeDee Lamb deal, because the Cowboys had CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott and Micah Parsons, and they're probably not going to be able to pay all of those guys that are going to be pretty much towards the top of market at each position. It's hard to fit them all under the cap. There was an unverified user who tweeted that this thing is about to get done, which, there's people make shit up on the internet all the time. Robert Schmitz of the Bears blog said, there's no way this is happening. There's other verified sources that are saying, no, this isn't. I think there's just nothing out there. There's a lot of wish casting going on here. Caleb Williams stirring the pot a little bit.
In the last hour,
liking or retweeting something to the effect, but just as fun, a trade package that I was thinking of. They could offer a 1 and a Khalil Herbert and a Tyson Bagent to
there it is.
Sweeten that pot up. I'd be all right with them going after Parsons. Be pretty fun.
Oh, sure. Why wouldn't you kick the tires on seeing at least what you could do with it? And especially with us looking for line help, but that's a lot of money.
Yeah, well, but that's your window right now.
It is. Yeah, it is. You're not going to probably get another one ever for this particular player, but that's a lot of money.
I mean, since you're floating it out there, I was going to save this kind of till next week, but you're floating it out there. Bagent to the Raiders in a package that gets you Max Crosby. You reunite Bagent with Getsy. Do it in a heartbeat.
Oh, for sure.
Well, how do you hate him that much that you want to reunite him with Luke Getsy?
I don't hate him. His dad annoys the hell out of me, but I don't hate him in any way, shape, or form. But he's a valuable asset that hopefully we're never going to have to use.
Exactly.
Move him on.
Yep.
Move him on and get some return on him. Well, especially right now in that rookie QB window.
Yeah, but then who do you want backing him up? Who do you want backing up?
Let 18? Austin Reed back him up. Let Brett Rippon. I like. Again, the idea is that you never have to let him play.
Sure, that would be great, but it's not realistic.
And Waldron has a history of making the system work for whatever QB he has in front of him.
And we've seen that Bagent is only going to get you so far anyway last year. So it's not like their record he wasn't 4-0. Started last year, so.
Do I counter argue, or do we really talk about Tyson Bagent more than we ever probably should want to?
We only talk about him on this podcast because of you.
No, I end up having to defend myself to him all the time because you guys rag me about it. But no, I mean, the dude does it with second team reps, without much first team reps. Didn't have it much in his rookie season. Didn't have it much now. He still comes out and he produces, and so. I wouldn't want to see him go. I know what you guys are saying, but he's also so cost effective that a veteran backup would cost like 3 or 4 to 1 than what he's currently costing them right now. So I'd like to keep him around for at least another year or two before that next contract comes up.
Man, move him. Get return on him right now. His value is never going to be higher than it is right now.
It'll probably be just as high next year.
No, it will not. There's so much pump behind him right now. Now's the time. Like, if you can do it, you can do it. Supposedly,
the Hard Knocks effect.
Yes, the Hard Knocks effect.
Hard Knocks
supposedly, the Raiders were interested in him pre-draft, and the Bears said no.
Poor Bagent.
Getsy wanted him. The Bears said no. If I'm Poles right now, I'm knocking on that door, going, "Yeah, you still want him? The price just went up. Let's go."
If you're going to do that, then you probably should do something similar to what you did with Fields. Ask Bagent, where would you like to go for a chance to start?
Oh, get out of here. We're not going to.
There's no way in hell he wants to go to Vegas. You're
just proving how much you. Oh, yeah. Why would he want to go to Vegas and party and throw to Devontae Adams and Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer? Man, life would really suck.
You're talking a huge difference between a guy that you had as the face of your franchise and was a first round pick
it's
versus
still just respect.
You're not going to do that with every player that you're going to trade.
No,
it's just
and that part is true.
All right.
We spent too much time.
Cut.
This is Nat really getting excited about Tyson Bagent. So let's go ahead and move on. What else you got here, Justin?
Trent Williams, another piece in San Francisco that's not getting quite as much attention as Brandon Ayuk, but he's saying he's not going to play unless there's an adjustment in his contract. And, there's a pretty good reason. The guy, there was a post by Scott Barrett who does some good work. And Trent Williams, as he was the number one left tackle per Pro Football Focus last year, when he was off the field, Brock Purdy had 3 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. When he was on the field, Purdy was 28 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. And Christian McCaffrey also had some ill effects. When Williams is off the field, he was getting 1.83 yards before first contact. When Williams is on the field, he gets 2.3 yards before first contact. He's really the unsung hero of that offensive line. Really makes things go. So San Francisco better figure out what to do with him.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it all along. Your offensive line it's so crucial, and he is one of the best, if not the best, at that position.
That touchdown to interception ratio is astounding to me.
Yeah, it shows you what happens when you're feeling pressure versus not, like how comfortable you are with that left side.
Yeah, when I was going through that analysis, when we were going through our teams and our division analysis, that was some of the problems I saw with San Francisco. Which is why I still am like, if LA takes the division, I'm not going to be that surprised because they've just got chatter going on with Ayuk, Trent Williams, McCaffrey's had an interesting calf. There's just so much going on that they need to settle some stuff in house and they need to do it fast, and they're not doing it. So, to all my friends in the Bay Area who still love this team and will always will, they've got my pity until they start settling this shit.
All right. That looks like our news and notes section. And with that, we're normally this is about the time where we're going to do a game recap. I will be completely honest. I was in the throes of fantasy football prepping over this last weekend where it did not involve watching week 3 of preseason games. So we're going to let Nat give us his takes on whatever game he wants to talk about, or games. I will give you that as well. Anything that stuck out to you about preseason week 3?
What stuck out is how very unseriously the whole league took it. I think only 7 starting quarterbacks started. in there. The Bears only had one start. I watched their game and watched some highlights like Drake May last night. He looked good, except this front line in New England is going to be the most penalized team in the league coming up. I would track that. That's very possible. But the Bears look good. And I think what isn't being talked about is the fact that we hadn't given up a touchdown in 2 games. Not sure that's still second, and a lot of second, third, and fourth stringers playing other second, third, and fourth stringers. But they've looked good. Like that just means our depth is looking good, and it's better than we thought it was going to be going into it. So I've appreciated that. And yeah, that backup quarterback guy, that guy who wears number 12, he didn't look too bad either. If you guys haven't seen the highlights yet, I'd go back and look. I stopped watching around the third quarter, but I get what you guys would want to trade him. I get the value. I do get the Hard Knocks bump. I'm not completely against it. Especially, you guys make a good enough argument that, yeah, it's probably not a bad idea. But he looked good. Depth looked good. Pryor, the guy who's supposed to be backing up, one of the guys backing up Nate Davis and Ryan Bates, he looked good on the line. He looked better than Nate Davis's looked. But that's it. I mean, it wasn't much to watch.
So I know you really like that Tyson Bagent guy, but have you noticed that he hasn't been wearing 12 this year?
Yeah, but it's not as fun to say unless I say TB12.
Yeah. All right.
You know, he's wearing that same number that Micah Parsons wears. So if there was
to trade him to get the number open. I see it.
Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that number?
Now you're going to make me look it up.
Pretty sure Parsons is 11.
Isn't that what Badger was wearing or no?
17.
Yeah, 17.
You see how much I really care to watch Tyson Bagent play quarterback.
Listen, he's played fine. I'm not going to argue
great.
that. He's played just fine. Okay, well, let's calm down. He's played just fine. Like, he's done well, but again, against 2s and 3s.
Yep.
So let's calm down with
2s and 3s.
Absolute greatness.
I'm not putting him in Canton quite yet.
Anyway, keeping with that Bears news, long shot to make the roster anyway, most likely a practice squad guy. Hard Knocks darling Ian Wheeler, speedster, torn ACL. Really, really unfortunate. It seems like a really cool dude, smart guy. Obviously, he got into med school and whatnot. Yep. So we hope him a speedy recovery, and hopefully this isn't the end of his journey with football, regardless of what that looks like. But speedy recovery to you, Ian Wheeler. And Simba Webster with a groin injury on IR as well. All right. Anything else on that?
That Douglas Coleman injury. He's the one that got carted out in an ambulance.
Oh yeah, yep.
They still waived him with an injury designation.
He was okay though, right? Like took him to the hospital and he got released from the hospital.
Yeah. It was just
again.
It's probably the highlight of the preseason of that week because it was
low light.
Yeah, that viral moment.
Yeah, there we go. Speaking of Drake May, injury, Jacoby Brissett injured. Did you guys see that hit? He got walloped. It looked like that Kyler Gordon sack on the Bengals QB. It was, he got popped pretty good.
Yeah.
It's not going to help the case for not starting Drake May week 1. Looks like that's going to be there. Though, according to Nat, is Drake May better than Tyson Bagent? Like, if you had to pick right now,
I would probably play Bagent just to mess with you guys. But if I actually had money on if I was actually in New England and I had to start, I'd be starting Drake May and I wouldn't think twice.
All right, let's get back to Bears preseason really quick because 4-0.
I know
they go 4-0, and the stats behind teams that go 4-0 in the preseason is interesting. It's not helping calm down those meathead Bear fans that were like 12-5 because now they're probably at like 14-3 type of deal.
Well, okay, no.
I'll let you guys weigh in on that because I was not on the 12-5. I'm still not coming off my 9-8 at this point in time.
If you also factor in the fact that the last time they had gone to Canton, they won the division, and now they go to Canton, then they do 4-0 in preseason. It's just double whammy of
the 7th team to outscore their opponents by a total of 60 points or more. And the previous 6 teams all made the playoffs, and 2 of them won the Super Bowl. I mean,
Yeah. So have you changed your prediction now? Are you increasing your win total from 12 to like 14 at this point, or are you just sticking with it?
No,
no, I'm not. I'm not going that far. But
well, I'll let Justin go first. I'll go.
Yeah. Did we say
Well,
12? I didn't. We're probably going to come out
Yeah.
with our. We did a way too early look at schedule release.
Are we gonna do one more next week?
And we're probably
Well,
going
we do have.
give our predictions for the entire league next week. But
Well, I think
I'm
we have league predictions
having a
next
hard
week.
time talking myself off 11 or 12. So
well, yeah. As we went into that back in April, I couldn't. I was trying to get 11-6, and then I couldn't get out of that win streak I kept giving them, and so I ended up getting stuck with 12-5. And I don't want to be called like someone who's backpedaling, so I'm kind of like, fuck it.
Well, I mean,
12
we are
change
20
now?
minutes into it, so I mean,
No, that's
you are due for a backpedal.
We are due 4.5 months into. I will stick with 12-5, as insane as that number feels to say out loud. But no, hell no,
right,
14-3. They're crazy.
The only thing that
let's
makes
stick on
me
this.
a little hesitant is having the same opinion as Nat there. So
There you go.
That's fair. Let's stick on this Hard Knocks strain here. So we had another episode 3, Bears Hard Knocks. Real quick, still slow, still not a whole lot of drama or entertainment value. We'll go from there, on that side of it. Anything jump out to you guys on this episode?
the McCaskey edicts for no swearing and things like that. Look, as somebody who has a little bit of a potty mouth here and there, it's kind of jarring. Not jarring. That's probably not the right word, but it's noticeable. It's very vanilla. You get the vanilla Bears going on. I did enjoy seeing the segment with pardon my take, Big Cat and PFT commenter interviewing Caleb. That was pretty cool.
I figured you would enjoy that part.
Oh yeah.
I told my wife, I was like, Justin loves this. Justin is absolutely loving this part.
Well, so I love the question. If you could press the button and kill one fan and get guaranteed 10 Super Bowls.
Oh, dude, his answer to that was like, all right.
He sidestepped really well.
Oh,
I
he goes,
really
well,
to say
like a
yes.
pro.
he goes, that's love. I'm like, that's one fucking way to put it.
Yeah, he handled that very, very well. I will give him credit. Because that's entertaining of as a question. It's like you have to be really careful because somebody's going to twist it the second
someone's going to sue, and someone's going to sue over some accident and claim Caleb Williams told me to do it.
Well, then I heard Big Cat being interviewed on Waddle and Sylvie, and he threw it out. If you had that choice, would you want to watch the 10 Super Bowls and nobody knew that it was you, or to not see any of them and everybody know that it was you?
Yikes.
That's
The enjoyment
like
of watching it or the knowledge of a legacy?
That's like a Bartman question.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
like,
gonna.
we lost the World Series and everyone knows it was you, asshole. But
I don't think it's fair to blame that entire thing on him, but that's another debate for another time.
I could blame
another
him
time.
Get him to the World Series, but not winning it.
Give me your takes on Hard Knocks, Nat.
To finish that question, I mean, it's football, so it's like, no, I'm not going to let suicide sacrifice for Super Bowl wins isn't that cool. But my take on Hard Knocks, Justin went where I went. It was like the moment you heard the story break about the fact that one of the edicts was that no swearing, you're like, well, that explains why this is so peaceful and calming. And sure, that's got its staged reality moments for this, that, and the other. For like the interview stages with Bagent and in the quarterback room with Bagent and Williams and some. But what's getting to me, and I shouldn't. I mean, this is like eating pizza, right? Watching Hard Knocks Bears like eating pizza. Even bad pizza is still pizza, and you're still going to eat, you're still going to watch it. And what's getting to me is the lack of the O-line talk. Sure, it's not as sexy to the masses, right? They want highlights, they want backs, receivers, that sells the game. But what's going to define whether or not this offense takes off is one of it's the Nate Davis problem, and the other one's the O-line injuries, and that's not even touched, not even whispered, hinted. Maybe there was 30 seconds where Nate Davis's name was mentioned, but it's still not a feature. And maybe I'm just too much of a Bears fan or too much of a football fan and not getting into the drama of it all, but it's getting missed, and I really think that's a missed opportunity.
It's a missed opportunity for drama, but if you're the Bears, why are you like, hey, here's my flaws, everybody? Like, what? Why would you do that?
Okay, for starters, most teams already know that the Bears O-line is going to be their flaws. They're not giving away the secret sauce with that. But,
so again, why bring it up then?
Because you offered to be transparent in the background. You given this transparent. There's one long time ago. Do you guys remember who Chris Brogan is? He was one of the social media pioneers, business, high-end business coach. We were in a conference once, and I'd asked him a question similar to this. Why would you want to show so much behind the curtain? And he's like, there's being transparent and there's being naked. And I think talking about the O-line problems would be being transparent. Giving away what they plan to do about any of those issues would be being naked. And I think there's a line that they're not going to cross. They're not going to cross that naked line. Like the fact that they even did the Jadoon trade, like talking about the fact that he was going into it and that they couldn't finish a deal, or they had met the requirement for a 3rd round draft pick and they couldn't keep going. They still couldn't reel him in. That was transparent.
I just figured out who you were talking about.
I'm not saying his last name wrong. Judon. Thank you. I called it Star Wars. I went Star Wars on that. Sorry.
I was like, who the hell is Jadoon? I was getting ready to start typing everywhere.
Star Wars. My bad, guys.
My God.
No,
that was actually probably the best part of that episode where they kind of got into Pole's process and how he talked about, this is what we're willing to do. And
they were being
the guardrails.
Yep.
Yeah.
They were being transparent, but they
awesome.
weren't being naked about it. And I think you could do that with this O-line. Like you've got 3 guys that are hurt. It's not like they're showing who else they're scouting the field on. They're not talking about possibly as a Pryor being a backup too and Davis getting cut or whatever hyperbole might be out there. It would have been nice to at least address it because real Bears fans, the ones that are really following it, know that this is an issue.
First of all, I won't disagree that it's an issue. Speaking of being transparent, everybody, this is like Nat's chat right now. This is what we have in our Facebook chat is Tyson Bagent and O-line talk. Like that's all that's in there.
No, it's defending myself.
This is the first we've heard of
Bagent.
Jadoon, but it is not the first we've heard of Bagent and the O-line. Here's the thing. So I honestly, the episodes that felt slow, I've mentioned that, not a lot of dramas, not a whole lot to it. I hadn't even caught on that there wasn't any swearing or anything. I hadn't even paid attention to it. But now, like, I'm going to be paying attention to it like a hawk in the next couple episodes. Because I mentioned before it started, Justin, with my kids, I'm very careful about what we say around them because until they're old enough to learn how to use the words correctly, I try not to say them around them.
Dude.
But if they're not swearing in the show, it gives me an opportunity to share that with my kids a little bit. They won't watch for more than 2 minutes, but like it at least gives me the opportunity to say, hey man, like look at all the behind the scenes stuff. Like, and they show Hallis Hall, like JD's been to, my son has been to, my son JD has been to Hallis Hall. He's run on the practice field.
Nice.
Right? Like, and he's seen those pictures and he gets all excited about it and be like, look, this is the same field where these guys are running around. Right. Like, so that'll be a cool thing to do.
Well,
I hadn't even picked up on the no swearing thing.
I'll tell you, there's a point to
I
that.
say, first of all,
go.
My kids have been able to use those words correctly from a very young age.
Well, not surprising.
Secondly, no, my son has sat and watched some of it too, and I think it's building some excitement with him for this upcoming season. So Hopefully he'll sit
which
down
is what
and
I like to do.
watch some more of those games and
it's given me something to
the
think
use
on.
of some of those words that I'm going to be using when my bets don't hit.
Sorry, Justin. I thought you were trailing faster. My bad, buddy. But no, it's gotten me something to think about because like when I go to bed at night or I'm snuggling in the boy to bed, it's like YouTube. It's like watching Perkin Builder Brothers or Camping with Steve or something that's very blasé, no swearing, very calm and peaceful. And I didn't even think about it until JD brought up the fact that I could watch Hard Knocks with the kid as they're snuggling to bed because they don't effing into the effing. Good point.
The one bit of drama they did do this week, which kind of this actually bothered me that they brought this up, or not brought it up, but they presented in such a dramatic way. The whole headset not working in the first quarter of the second preseason game. I was really bothered by it because the way they presented it and the way they timed out the editing and whatnot, it was like he's having headset issues. The offense is struggling really bad. And then they go to the defense and they show all these defensive highlights that weren't even from the same quarter that they were showing. Like they showed defensive highlights from the entire game and then came back and were like, the headset's fixed and now the offense is taking off. And I'm like, that's not what happened. Like, I understand the headset was an issue and I will give Caleb Williams all the credit in the world. Dude was calm as can be. He's like, I got nothing. I got it. And just went out and ran the plays or whatever it was. And things didn't work for a plethora of reasons. Offensive line that had nothing to do with, the headset, or maybe they did, I'm an idiot. What do I know? But just the way they presented it and like, okay, headset wasn't working. Defense played really good for 40 seconds and got all these takeaways and did everything. And then headset's working and greatest offense of 2024.
10 fast points and off the field.
I was like, if you watch the games, that's not exactly how things went, but
no,
he did have some success towards the end after they fixed the headset.
Correct.
Yeah, but they're trying to say it was causational.
They showed the defense, so they showed like 4 quarters of defensive highlights, and then it was like, oh yeah, by the way, now the offense is doing good. But like it wasn't linear, is all I'm saying.
Yeah. I will tell you what. Yeah, the other part that was cool is like when we were on chat and like we're trying to figure out if they're going out for a 4th possession or not. And JD's like, they should. And I'm like, I bet they do. And JD's like, they shouldn't. And we're probably both right. They shouldn't have gone out there, but they probably were going to. The fact that he said they were on a play count, that they're on a 20 limit play count, and that they still had some left to go on that 4th drive. That's fascinating to me. That's almost like Charlie Weiss-like. It's like we're gonna get the plays no matter how many possessions it takes. I did not see that part coming.
I'll admit to being wrong. I said they shouldn't because the field didn't look right. The offensive line didn't look good. I was like, why risk it?
Oh, and it was valid.
Clearly, they knew what they were doing because he got back out and fixed things, and we were good.
Yeah, no, your assessment was valid. Like when you said it in chat, I was like, yeah, probably. But it was
play
cool
count
that
thing, though. We knew that ahead. I mean, he kind of said that from the beginning of going into game 2 after the Hall of Fame game.
Well, for starters, I didn't.
They were going to put him on. They wanted to get him somewhere between 45 and 60 snaps. And
for the preseason, I didn't expect him to stop it. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I expected those to be spread out through the 3 games, not 2.
And I think initially that was going to be the plan, but they decided that it was going to be more beneficial to, rather than have 3 3-and-out series, let's get him back out there, see if we can show a little bit of success and build on that. And then it just so happened the total number of plays, they got a full half on offense. Not all of that was with full ones either.
No,
you didn't have Keenan Allen or DJ Moore
Allen and Moore were
on the
out
field.
at that point.
So, and Gerald Everett's getting more run than Cole Kmet.
Yep.
Kind of keeping those main guys healthy. But then they got him close to that number and said, okay, then we don't need to see him in the last week, which I was completely fine with.
Yep. Well, and maybe I missed maybe I just heard it different, or I fell for the editing of a reality show, but it sounded like they were doing the 20 plays regardless. Like they didn't even factor the fact that the first 3 drives had sucked, that they were doing it like they were going to do the 20 plays, even if it was 3 possessions, 6 possessions, regardless of possessions. That's the way they had edited it to me. And so
I mean,
at that point,
I could tell from watching the game that,
and I did too.
That was an adjustment that he made and a decision he made during the game. That's without even seeing the Hard Knocks edit.
But I said that's just it. Like I thought it was going to be 4 possessions, right? Like I thought they were going out for the 4th possession. I didn't know what the play count was at the time. It wasn't until I was watching Hard Knocks that they were talking about the way they had set it up, that what it looked like to me when I watched the Hard Knocks edit is that they were going to do 20 plays regardless. And so all the stuff we were thinking about, whether you're going to go back out to try to get momentum, it sounded like, according to the edit, it didn't factor in. Now I don't know if that's true or not because reality show, but that's the part I didn't. You see what I'm getting at? Like kind of like Charlie Weiss back in the days is like, we're going to do 20 plays no matter what. These are going to it would be like 18 plays scripted back in the day, no matter what. It sounded like that's what they had done. Went into this game before the game, we're doing 20 plays. That's what the edit had sounded like to me. Does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
I don't know that I mean, I get it. I just don't know that I would agree. But that's the wonderful thing about us is we all get to have our own opinions, right?
Yes, we're not fascists.
We're all assholes.
Yes.
We're all idiots just spouting our opinion. So, all right. Speaking of idiots and opinions, it's time for the main event. So here's what is going to happen. I will go ahead and share my screen so that we can we'll go over some base rules here. So we decided that it would be a good idea to do a fantasy draft. Okay, so it's just going to be 6 rounds. Okay, everybody's got to get a QB, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, 1 tight end, and we're going to run it in a best ball style to an extent. All right, real quick, here's the scoring though. Quarterbacks get 0.05 per passing yard. Running backs, receivers, you get a 0.1 per rush or receiving yard, 1 point per reception. So we're playing PPR, 6 point TD, regardless of how it happens. 2 points for 2-point conversions and -2 for interceptions or fumbles lost. What I don't have in there is sacks. I don't think we're really all that worried about that, are we, guys?
No,
it's not going to affect my draft.
We're not drafting defenses, so
right. So some leagues do. You lose points for giving up sacks.
Lose points for getting sacked.
Anyway, there is no in-season roster management unless a multi-week injury occurs. So essentially, we're saying if they go on IR or it is season ending, then you may replace your player. It is a $5 fee that will go into the pot for this. Bye weeks do not matter because this is a cumulative point league. Essentially, you get points every single week, no matter what happens, and total points at the end of it. And then the losing teams will donate to a charity of the winner's choosing at the end of it. All right. Everybody good with that?
I'm so excited to be able to draft a team that will be the most stacked fantasy roster I've ever had.
All right. Let's get into here. And let's zoom in a little bit because I know y'all can't see that one real good. Well, I don't want to go too far because we need to be able to see everything. So we did a random generator. And I'm going to say stuck with the first pick. Like, this is not a position I wanted to be in because I feel like you can't win with this.
And then he tried to cheat and do it a second time to get out of it.
I did. Here's the deal.
We're going 18 players deep.
Right. I know. It's just always that first one's big. Given what we just talked about earlier with the Trent Williams thing, I'm going to go Bijan Robinson with my number 1.
Son of a bitch. You literally kind of gave me a first pick because that was not in my first. CeeDee Lamb.
Oh, snap. I thought he was going to do it.
I thought I was going to do it too. I couldn't pull it.
Oh, wait. Why did I do that? I thought he was going to do it.
Wow.
It's point per. It's PPR. So
You're right. It is.
yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm being bothered by this.
I mean, I'm gonna take CMC.
I mean, you can't really be mad about it. At third, you get CMC, but like,
Yeah.
No,
I mean, if you were the number one overall, are you taking him?
no,
Okay, all right.
because
that
I'm
pass is
taking Brees
scaring
Hall
me.
next.
Yep.
Brees Hall is functional. He was really awesome in a barely functional offense last year, and with Rodgers healthy in a functional offense, I think Brees Hall is going to be a stud this year.
I'll take Tyreek Hill.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna. Oh God, I don't want to do that. Just with the QB situation, that makes me so nervous. So nervous. Ooh, do I go receiver here? No, I do not. I'm going Saquon.
I'm gonna steal Justin can't pick one anyways. All right, Jamar Gibbs.
Jameer.
Jameer. You're right, Jameer. My bad.
Is Jamar Gibbs friends with Joe Dune?
I'll have to check which Star Wars series got canceled.
All right. Jar Jar Gibbs. Is that what you?
Like that.
All right, I'm gonna go with Amon-Ra, the sun god.
Damn it! I was afraid you were going to do it. I was so
Well, you
afraid.
knew he was going there.
And then I'm gonna go with George Kittle.
Nice.
All right.
Kind of maybe a little shocking based on what tight end rankings are out there, and based on who my third pick was, I didn't want to do that, and so
Yep.
I'm gonna go Jonathan Taylor.
All righty. I'm going to go Garrett Wilson. Ooh.
like
Oh. Guys, do I take that QB off of there? You know what? I do. I'm going Josh Allen.
Oh, I get
That was a
Smart.
toss up for me, but
Smart.
I'm going.
and he took his tight end, so I can wait coming back on that one.
That is correct.
Jalen Hurts.
Interesting. That all right, we'll finish and then we'll do a little recap. We may have to like do some editing that because I'm not sure how well this is gonna play posting up and over on the share, but
I'm gonna because he hasn't really been filling the stat book like hugely the last couple of years, but he's won a couple of Super Bowls and he's still the best player in the league. So I'm gonna take Patty Mahomes. He's got weapons. He's got weapons, folks.
all right. And you get to take us home with receiver.
I got a receiver. It's got to be Jamar
Chase.
Jamar Chase. Yeah. I'm looking at this team and I'm just salivating. And of course, it's a 3-man league going
Right.
6 deep. But
Right.
Son of a bitch.
I know JD's not happy that I got the third pick.
No, I really wanted it. I'm actually more upset about what fell to me at round 2 because he should be golden, but with no QB, it makes me nervous.
Stuck between Laporta and Kelsey.
Take your pick.
Sam Laporta.
And for the shocker of it all, I'm taking Trey McBride.
Well, tell you what, the list I was looking at had him number 3 rated.
All right. So Justin, CMC, Breece Hall, Amon-Ra, George Kittle, Patrick Mahomes, and Jamar Chase. Yeah, I can understand you're salivating. Nat, you go CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Jahmyr Gibbs, not Jamar Gibbs, yes. Jonathan Taylor, Jalen Hurts, and Sam Laporta. Right in that Lion strain, double Lions. But not the stack you normally would go with. I've got Bijan, Justin Jefferson, Saquon Barkley, Garrett Wilson, Josh Allen, and Trey McBride. So what we'll do is we will week to week keep track of all the points, and we'll just see how everybody's doing. And like I said, we'll track this throughout the course of the season, see where we're at. And then again, a winning team gets to pick a charity for the 2 losers to donate to. I'm happy with my team. I'm scared of my team. I'm sure, Justin, you may echo that same sentiment with CMC. It's kind of like, what are we going to do?
Right. He's,
if.
Yeah. No, I probably would have taken Breece Hall number 1 if I had number 1.
So if you, Breece Hall was my top running back. My second running back that I was going after in fantasy leagues. I had 3 drafts yesterday, and I'm kicking myself because Bijan went for $1 more than Breece. But because of the way the order went, I couldn't pay the extra, the extra money in the auction. If you had one player on your team that you want a do-over pick on, would you do it?
With the way things fell, I don't think so. No.
My scariest pick was that first one because I was like, come on, JD, just take CMC. Don't make me even think about it. Don't give me that West Coast drama to worry about.
I will be honest. I considered Amon-Ra at the back end of 2. And I also considered A.J. Brown over Garrett Wilson. Just because the number 1 receiver in the Kellen Moore offense is usually just fed like crazy. But they also just traded for another receiver, which we didn't even talk about in the news. John Dotson gets traded to the Eagles. I'm going to touch base on that in a minute. But no Lamar Jackson. That one surprised me. Now, I honestly thought Lamar Jackson would have gone over Jalen Hurts for you.
I did the analysis on that team, and I don't know because I also thought of Travis Henry.
Remember, he picks the Steelers to win that division. So
yeah,
I mean,
that's
his analysis, folks.
With those 2 quarterbacks scoring 3 points in one fucking game, yeah, it's really great pick so far.
That is hilarious. That is hilarious. All right, well, there it is. Anything else you guys want to add about this draft before we move on?
No, it's cool that we're doing it cumulative. It's not nearly as popular of a format, but the fact that we're doing it for charity, just to see, it lets us track how good our predictions were. Instead of having to manufacture the waiver.
It is actually a popular format. Best ball.
Best ball's very popular.
Is it rising in popularity these last couple of years?
They start drafting in May.
Well, I hadn't done fantasy in 4 years, so I didn't know that was rising.
But we honestly could have gone probably 10, 12, 16 deep, and with only 3 people, we'd still really love our team. It's just That's a lot of people to keep track of.
Well,
manually.
That's so this is a good amount, and it's simple for what we're gonna do first year, right? Little way to donate to charity and have some fun with it.
Yep.
So, all right, well, let's stop the share on that. And if I'm not mistaken, it's time to get into our bad call of the week. And just for interest of time and some editing, we're going to go ahead and skip the little bomb drop that comes in and makes us all go deaf and that sort of thing. I'll go ahead and go first if you guys don't mind, since I just kind of touched base on it. So we were just doing fantasy football, and I just talked about the whole Jahan Dotson. Doing fantasy drafts before all the roster cuts and all that stuff is done. Typically, this isn't an issue. We tend to draft like Labor Day weekend or whatever, and you're right there. This week this year we did it yesterday. I had 3 drafts. I had 2 dynasty leagues and a redraft, and it doesn't really matter for the front end, right? Your front end guys, you're like all the guys we just drafted, they're on their team. You don't have to worry about it. But as you get to those mid to late rounds where you're really trying to find that depth or the sleeper guy that's really going to help you out a little bit, it makes a difference on knowing, okay, sometimes are they just because of depth not going to be on the team? In the case of the Jahan Dotson, you were looking at what was likely the number 2 receiver in an offense, an air raid style offense for that matter, now gets traded to a division rival, which not really sure what was happening there, where now he's the number 3 receiver on that team, but he's likely the number 4, number 5 option because you've got AJ Brown, you've got Devontae Smith, you've got Dallas Goedert, and now you've got Saquon Barkley. So somebody that takes Jahan Dotson, who drafted last week, thinking, okay, I've got a number 2 in what should be a high-paced offense, now goes to a team where how often is he going to see the field without an injury? So really seeing those types of things, I understand that stuff happens mid-season and all that, but you've got a better idea of what your team's doing. Drafting before final cuts and all that stuff really kind of makes me a little nervous. So that's my bad call for those of you that do the fantasy football. And I know this was a big draft weekend, just the way things fell, but doing it before the final wave of cuts and final, preseason is over. I personally like waiting. You want to do those drafts before that. That's when the best ball comes into play, in my opinion.
For sure.
And with that, I'll pass over Justin.
All right. I had a couple of different things that I saw come across the wire this week that I thought were a little crazy. But I did golf last week. Otherwise, I would have talked about Rory throwing his driver into the drink. But my bad call.
That's some V-Town posse stuff.
my bad call of the week goes to Pro Football Focus, a service and site that I typically admire. I've purchased their product several times in the past for their data and analysis, things like that. Today, they put out a tweet that, well, actually, it wasn't today. It was on the 23rd, so Friday. Rookie quarterback yardage projections. Jaden Daniels, 4,124 yards. Bo Nix, 4,043 yards. Caleb Williams, 3,923 yards. Drake May, 3,916. What were they smoking when they put out these projections? Not only would it be amazing if one of these guys got to that 4,000 yard clip, Bo Nix, 4,000. There is no flipping way. I'll do this show topless if that happens.
No.
To me, this was,
we're all passing on that.
Clickbait, just trying to get Caleb Williams, fans riled up. I don't know. I'll tell you what, if Caleb Williams throws for 3,900 yards, I'm going to be tickled pink. I'll wait for next year for the 4,000. But
in fairness, this says total yards.
Okay.
Includes rushing.
Okay. I don't
I can understand
it's not
the
like Bo
Jaden
Nix
Daniels.
is rushing for 1,500 yards or something.
I can understand the Jaden
I can't
Daniels.
see who's Jaden Daniels throwing to. Who besides
he's gonna be running for his life.
Yeah, running for his life. He's going to end up with RG3 out after 5 games.
Hey, that's my new dynasty QB. You stop that.
You don't think I knew that when I picked this topic?
Yeah.
Look,
I know.
Drayton May, Bo Nix. They picked 2 quarterbacks from probably the bottom 2 teams in the league this year in the Broncos and the Patriots, and they think they're going to get this. This is a total miss by Pro Football Focus, and I was shocked when I read this.
Market.
But they won because we're talking about it. But I totally get that bad call. When I first glanced at this, I was like, okay, I don't really see it because I didn't see the Bo Nix one. Like I just literally looked at Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams. I didn't even look at the right side of it, and I was like, okay, I can understand why you're upset. I didn't see the Bo Nix. Yeah, the Bo Nix one's hilarious to me. Hilarious.
I mean, the Oregon
is it
resident
satire?
is not even like, that's a possibility. Like, I'm the Oregon resident, and I actually liked Bo Nix more than Justin did because Justin had his concerns with him dating back to Auburn. But 4,000.
He only played 8 years of college.
Hey, he's got the practice.
He's as old as I am.
I swear,
but, all right.
I swear to Christ, if one of them gets 4,000 and Caleb Williams, and it isn't Caleb Williams, I'll scream.
No, you keep your shirt on.
Oh no, but it's more the fact that Bears have never had a 4,000 yard passer, as we all very much know. And 4 rookies come out and get it. I'll just now. Granted, it's 17 games, but still, it's like, what the hell?
Yep. I will agree. Bad call.
All right, Nat. Cue it up.
Mine was the sheer fruitlessness of a third preseason game. Back when we used to all the teams had to do 4, we used to bitch about the sheer fruitlessness of a 4th game because all it was determining which 4th or 5th round draft pick or 4th or 5th on the depth chart on positions had a chance to try to fight to stay on the roster or go to special teams. Now they're doing it with 3. Like, the 3rd game is even more fruitless than the 4th game used to be. I mean, you only had 7 teams starting the number 1 starter, and then we still had injuries at those positions that we were fighting for. So we were talking about Velus Jones Jr. He's probably going to make the roster because of the fight with Ian Wheeler. Ian Wheeler is now going to be on IR. So there's a better chance he makes roster. And it's just, again, that's the way it goes. But there's going to be a fight coming because the league wants them to put some kind of effort into it so they can sell enough tickets to make it worthwhile because they still make money off the game. So that 18th game and 2 preseason games are coming sooner rather than later. It's been talked about, but God, you guys didn't even watch most of the week preseason week 3. It's just absolutely fruitless to have it anymore.
I have some comments. Justin, you want to weigh in before I
I
jump
have
on that?
a feeling that you and I probably have similar comments.
We've had
and while it might not be good like television for a lot of people, tell Tyson Bagent that you don't want a 3rd game for him to get those reps and for his family to come be able to watch him play in a football game. Tell the guys that are scraping for the 51, 52, and 53rd spot on the roster that last preseason game isn't important. Maybe it's not important for the starters, but in some instances, it's important for your rookie quarterback. Maybe not for the Bears, but some of these other teams that don't have all of their situations settled. It's the risk reward for the teams with the injuries and things like that. Yes, a lot of times the last game of the preseason isn't going to get that much use, but there's some usefulness for it.
This is me playing the littlest violin in the world, playing My Heart Weeps for You. They're going to make that decision regardless of whether or not they play the third game. All the practices and everything leading up to it, third game is just pointless. It's just creating more injury than risk because not enough people take it serious. And with recklessness comes injury.
Okay. So Justin, different thought, but I agree with you. And I'm going to say this with all the hesitation in the world. Now, I agree with your premise. All the hesitation in the world. But here's why I think you can't get rid of the third preseason game. When they went from 4 to 3, what happened to the product for the first week or two of regular season NFL football? Off a cliff. Because it was these teams trying to figure out their timing and how to play. Yeah. And it took a couple weeks for it to get in there. So for that reason alone, the third week is important. Now, what I started to see this year, this is the first year I can remember, which isn't saying much because my memory is shit at this point in time. But there were teams who did not play their starters in week 1 and week 2, or sorry, preseason week 1, preseason week 2, but then played them in preseason week 3 in preparation of lead up. So what you saw is a different approach. Instead of playing them early and then resting for 3 weeks, you rest them and then play them, in the final game. The Titans did that essentially. I don't think their starters played at all in preseason 1 and 2. I'd have to go back and look, but they played, I think, the first half maybe in this last game. So it's a different approach, and I think we're more likely to see that type of an adjustment than them just get rid of it. So I'm not gonna say it's useless, but I understand the premise. I think there just has to be an adjustment on how coaches and teams use it, because like I said, the week 1 and week 2, the last couple of years, once they got rid of the fourth preseason game, really big decline in week 1, week 2 as far as quality of football went.
And is the talk of them going to 18-2 and the discussion of whether or not they have a second bye week is in the mix. If they're going to keep the third game going forward, they need to come up with a way to incentivize it to keep it more competitive, because if you look at the injuries that happened this weekend, injuries happen every week. But
every game.
Yeah, they happen every game, but they're more likely to happen if not enough people are taking it serious. And I don't think they take the third game serious enough, and that's another concern I have.
But those players on the field are taking it serious.
But not everyone.
Tell that to the guy that hit Jacoby Brissett. Please tell that to the guy that hit Brissett.
You're right on one thing. 18-2 is coming, and I'm all for it, especially if they add a second bye week in.
Yeah.
And put the Super Bowl on President's Day weekend. I'm all for it. But I think that it does serve a purpose, not only for the players that need be able to put some play on tape and things like that. Playing against somebody other than your own roster in practice makes a difference.
Yeah, and it
gives your coaching staff a chance to scout not only your players, but scout the other players from the other teams. And when you're trying to make a decision, because, Eberflus can't look at the defensive tackles from all these other games. He can't pull up practice video of these players. His only chance to scout some of these other players that might, like they just traded for Taylor, is based on tape that they put on.
That the one they just traded for?
Darrell Taylor from Seattle, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's purpose for him, and I understand your it's not fun to watch. It's not. I get that, but there's more purpose, and different teams are going to have different approaches to how they utilize their 180 minutes of field time in the preseason.
I mean, I didn't watch much the last 4 years outside of the Bears stuff, but I did watch it all the way. Watched it before, leading up back to 1985. I do understand the premise of the preseason. It's still just too reckless to me right now. Maybe it's the evolution. Maybe something changes. I don't know.
like I said, I understand
No.
the premise. I think maybe the way you're coming at the argument is where we're getting the disconnect. But I'm going to say one more thing before we move on to final thoughts, because Justin, you mentioned the coaches, and I thought you were going someplace you didn't. So I'm going to go the other direction. The other valuable thing that happens in these preseason games is a lot of times they let people who aren't the head coach or aren't the coordinators step in and call plays and practice roles, which is really important for the development of future coaching staff. And especially, I mean, not just within your own organization, but throughout the league. So I think that's another really good way to look at it, is these are good practice times for the coaches as well, and people that maybe won't get a chance to call games and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So,
and not only the coaches, the coaches, the staff, the fixing the helmet on the sideline, all of that stuff.
There's a last second trade here between Cardinals and the Chiefs. Not a big one. Cardinals traded linebacker Cam Thomas to the Chiefs for a 7th round pick, according to Ian Rappaport.
Yeah, definitely not big enough to interrupt what was about to happen. So let's go ahead and move on to final. Is your final thought, Nat? Is that what you want your final thought to be? Is that trade?
Probably not.
Probably not. Or what you got for me? Quick final thoughts as we lead into episode 4 of Hard Knocks tomorrow, or I guess as you're watching this, it'll be today.
Yeah, tonight. I'm looking forward.
What you got?
Looking forward to the season. It's all of a sudden right here. It's like jumped at us. That's it.
Yeah, right. We've been leading up to it. Everything's coming to a head here. It's gambling season is about to start. I didn't touch college football week 0. I will be touching college football week 1 coming up this week. I
think you need to rephrase that
as a bit of a primer for the NFL. And
I think he's caught it.
Trying to decide if I'm going to become a VIP on DraftKings.
Yeah, we'll have to let you touch base on that next week when we talk about some of these other things. Next week we're going to do season predictions league wide, right? We won't be talking about exact records, but we are going to do our season predictions. Start looking forward to week 1, because we will have live NFL week 1 regular season action that week. If you stuck around this long, we greatly appreciate you. Please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe so you know when we drop another episode. Plus, it helps us, and it's completely free to you. Also, go check out anotherbadcall.com, where Nat will most likely write stuff, and we will probably keep track of this fantasy scoring that we just did.
I'm doing the DJ.
Check us out at Another Bad Call on the big 3 social platforms. And until next time, try to avoid making another bad call.